Oh, we're
Not
we're on.
Grok. No, we're on. Okay.
We're on.
Sorry.
Look at
We're
that.
just doing a quick overview of offline
What should
image
we
generation
talk
tools we've
about?
used.
Yeah, I
You
had
what we're
asked you
talking?
the question of, are you using any kind of Gen AI? Hello,
Right.
Laszlo. Any Gen
Hello.
AI products for creating images that
Right.
run locally? I mean, I've always used Midjourney,
Right.
but that's not definitely not a local thing. And so, what else? I keep thinking I will get into this, but I I don't. I mean, I dabble a little bit, um, and I've recently found a tool that makes it I find so much easier.
Yep.
But and I don't think I haven't seen other than the videos that the company puts out. I haven't seen any mention of it anywhere else.
Interesting. I was using the one that I think we talked about it last week, maybe the week before. The one that Grok uses,
Mm-hmm.
something one. There's so many names. Sorry, I've forgotten.
Mm.
Whatever it is, one is the model that I used a little
Okay.
bit
Oh
recently, which
yeah.
I actually was really impressed with.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit better than what I expected.
Right.
Midjourney is great. I think if you're trying to come up with like fantasy kind of stuff or
Right.
sci-fi or something like that, I find when it falls apart for me is when I'm trying to do something realistic or an icon or something like that. That being
Mm-hmm.
said, having used like Photoshop and Illustrator, and
Mm-hmm.
listen, I use Photoshop almost daily for image gen if we're really getting down to it. Um, they they solve a different problem for me than Midjourney might be, which is Midjourney to me feels like if I'm trying to think of like a way to express an idea or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Midjourney is a good way for me to think of what that would look like. Or Dali, I use for the same thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
give me what am I trying to think? Like a metaphor for security might be a
Right.
padlock, just like as a really like basic pedestrian kind
Right.
of example. But if I'm thinking of other things, and a lot of it is actually iconography for presentations and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, it's not that I want to use the image, it's that I really don't have an imagination that would come up with a good metaphor for something. And that a lot of times these things will do it for me, which is great. Or just different ways of presenting something that might look retro or insecure or secure
Right.
or whatever that looks like. Yeah. Yeah, so Laszlo says civil AI. I think that might be Civit AI. As
Yeah.
maybe it was like a typo.
It's like
Um, I I,
a,
I would
a
say there be dragons though, because there's a lot of models on there that are not safe for work.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
so be prepared.
And I think
Um,
that's a lot of the point of a lot of them. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I
let's
mean,
uh,
some
to,
types of
to
work.
to take a positive spin on this. I'd say if you're
Yeah.
trying to come up with like something to brainstorm anime or manga, definitely a lot of these models are geared towards
Hmm.
that kind of like manga can kind of stuff. For sure, which is handy. And I've used
Yeah.
Canva for a lot of that. Canva's got like a
Hmm.
little manga preset that I've used quite a
Hmm.
bit. That I find really interesting. It's like 80s manga, CMYK kind of color, a lot of dithering. Anyway, that's
Right.
that's about all I know. And lastly, but not least, I'm still angry that Illustrator can't just like use the application to make its drawings when it does generation. Instead, it comes up with stuff that is mostly unusable at this
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
That's my rant.
Wow. Yeah, I had played around with Comfy, I think,
Right, Comfy UI, yeah.
but um, I seem to remember playing with it a while back, and then I tried to get it installed again, but I mean, it's because the install is so bad, it it is I couldn't get it running again. I've and I just cannot get it, because it's so easy to screw up your Python environment, and because
Right.
I'm changing tools a lot,
I use Docker.
it's
For the most recent one for Comfy, I used a Docker.
but then if you're running
I was
in
running,
Docker on a
yeah,
Mac, you don't
on
get access to the GPU, so you
really. This
can't.
is on a Linux box, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
yeah,
I think on Linux there's just a parameter that you have to pass. It's actually
yeah,
pretty easy.
yeah. There is.
Um, I will say though, I was using a CPU, so my dirty secret here is for a lot
Mm,
of this image gen stuff. I'm okay waiting actually.
okay,
But I'd rather have a bigger image a lot of the time, if that makes any
right.
sense. I like a 512 by 512 kind of thing instead
Hmm.
of smaller, and I don't need four of them. I'm totally
Right.
okay with one. But a lot of times I'd rather wait, and the thing that I get with more memory is I can get better quality or like
Yep.
more iterations. It's slower, definitely, and
Yep.
I think I'm on 5950X's, like Ryzen side, so not
Hmm.
great. But yeah, that's interesting on the Mac side. So I guess I thought that the GPU
There
capabilities were part of the
there
GPU, so
is
they'd be passed through.
so Nick Yonker, there is GPU pass through for
Okay.
Windows and Linux, but not for Mac.
Ah, got you. And the GPU
That's
capabilities of the CPU aren't something that you can pass through. I see what you're saying.
basically there's no there there are no mainstream GPU drivers for Linux for Apple Silicon chips. That's the
Wow.
problem. There's this Asahi Linux, but it's
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I
yeah,
remember they had a
and
hard time with the NVMe
right,
controller, just as an
right.
example.
It's
Interesting.
but so on Mac there is no option for that. And then there's all these
Mm-hmm.
virtual environments, yeah. But if your Python environment is screwed up, which is so easy to do, then having the virtual environment on top of that screwed up environment is still screwed up. So
Wow.
that is my and that was one of the big problems that Olama had early on. Was like it's so easy to screw up a Python environment, and they just got rid of Python. They switched from the first version, the first like 3 weeks, 4 weeks
Right.
was Python based, and then you hit a wall with installing on and having to support. I mean, Olama is now getting millions of downloads each release, and so you're going to run in. How do you eliminate as many support issues as possible? Make it easier to install, and that meant getting rid of Python.
Interesting.
But
I think I've used Automatic 1111 on Mac, but not in
oh yeah,
Docker.
yeah,
Is
not
that
on
the
Docker.
difference?
So I
Oh,
mean,
gotcha, gotcha.
so it works.
Just a
I
pain,
think
but yeah, I see what
I've
you're
got
saying.
it. And there were other tools that I've used that do a better job with the install. But if your Python environment is screwed up, then you're screwed. And it's so easy to do. So
Very,
that's
very
always
easy.
been my annoyance. But
Hmm.
there is another tool I've been playing around with, which I think is super cool. Because when I think of one of the, yeah, so Conda, UV, virtual environment tools,
I am,
totally.
yeah.
But it's when you start, it's very easy. I mean, if you're not doing this every day, it's like, oh wait, what was the tool I was using? Was it UV? Was it Conda? Was it? And then now you're mixing tools, and now it's even more screwed up than it ever was before. Um, so awful. I hate it. But that's like a minor. Um, the lack of GPU support on Docker for Mac. I mean, it's kind of a minor issue most of the time because
Right.
I don't really need it. But it sometimes would be nice. Um, yeah, Olama supports multiple requests at the same time. Has for 6 months, I think. Um, but let's see.
So what's this tool you're using? You're
Yes.
burying the lead here. I'm
Does
waiting.
it now? Yeah, it does. So Muhammad, yes, it does. You can have up to. It depends on the GPU and CPU that you're using, how many threads you're able to support. But yeah, you can totally run multiple threads. Okay, so one of the problems that I've had with some of these generation tools, like even with Midjourney, I mean, Midjourney just added their kind of editor where you can like delete portions,
Right.
and there's lots of tools that allow you to delete a portion and then have it regenerate, but regenerate using that original prompt, but just redo that thing that you're not happy with, and hopefully you get a better luck next
Right.
time. And there's some definitely tools to make that better. But what I really like is called Invoke. Why can I share this? There we go. There we go. Invoke. So this screenshot is great because you use one prompt for the overall image, and then you can inpaint over certain sections, like they painted over the mountain, and now use a different prompt for the mountain, and now paint over these trees. Use a different prompt for the trees, and then paint over some other thing, and use a different prompt. I mean, it's like it makes it, and I think a lot of that you can totally do with these other tools, but I haven't seen anything that makes it so freaking easy.
Right on.
So I'm really digging this Invoke.
Invo-
And it's so powerful. It has all the the same kind of chaining and nodes that you saw in Comfy, but just it's just it's really really cool. So that's one I've been playing around with, and their videos are great. And what I also like about their videos is that they uh, the one of the it's really one guy that you keep seeing in the videos. I don't know how big the team is, but this one guy, he can't be the one developer because he's always on these streams, and they're like an hour or two, and it was like, okay, let's pick an idea, and I'll get ideas from the chat, and then start building something, and going off on these weird directions. And then, well, how about we? And then I'll get some more input from the chat and like go in that other direction, and they're always kind of fascinating watching, like how would you solve these problems? Like there was a what looked like to me it looked like a particular mall in Dubai that I'd gone to a bunch of times because I used to go to Dubai a lot. And he but there were some weird things in the background with the trees, and so he's like modifying the trees and moving them around, and there was some weird things with the ceiling, so he got rid of the lights in the ceiling, but added lights back in a more regular pattern and duplicated them on both. I mean, it's like, oh my god, this is so cool. If you know what you're doing, it's really cool, but it's also really approachable even if you don't know what you're doing. So I found this really cool, and it's really easy
Very.
to install.
So I went and looked at the models that they're using because that seems to be like the secret sauce for a lot of this. They're
Hmm.
using four, no, three. I can't count. So
They're using
Stable
they're
Diffusion
using
XL.
many. You can download any model you like.
They say three. I mean, you can upload your own, but yeah. So they're using Stable Diffusion XL, Stable
Hmm.
Diffusion 1.5, and Flux One. Flux One is the one that
Right?
I recently discovered,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
like honestly amazing. And then yeah, you can create your own or upload your own, which is actually
Yep.
pretty interesting. And then it looks like there's a little bit of training in here as well, which
Yeah.
honestly I find is maybe more interesting than a lot of this is like
Hmm.
image to text as opposed to text to image. It's like describe my like if I take a photo of somebody, describe that theme of that photo
Right.
so I can take more photos in a theme without
Right.
coming up with it. Like not like, hey, I like the shot I took. I have no idea if there's like because I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. Is there a way that I can recreate this or drill in on this theme a little bit more? I find that really cool. And this is more under that like auto caption portion where they're making your own model. That seems neat.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
I'm totally digging that. And then it's also neat that you can, once you've kind of got the overall feel like layout of your image, then add a different image as the style, change the overall style of it
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
something
yeah,
else, but keep the same, the same structure, the same building and a mountain behind, keep all that, but just change the architectural design of the building.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Did you see
ah,
this
so cool.
workflow builder portion? Because I find this is
Yeah.
one of those things that I struggle with all the time. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because I'm in a creative job, but I worry about maybe worry is the wrong word, it's a little bit strong. I think about perhaps in a future where some of my teammates may be using some of these tools to generate content.
Hmm.
Again, no judgment. A lot of the times though I feel like it's like against the corporate identity or like close but not enough. And a lot of times I have
Right.
to like share a prompt with people and things like
Yeah.
that. What I did like in the workflow is that there's a bunch of like not this, but maybe and that,
Yeah.
and you could like sort of plonk your prompt down in the middle of
Right.
this sort of environment, this sort of setup for these guidelines or these guardrails around what is appropriate in your
Yeah.
business context, and then generate an image. I find that really interesting to me because a lot
Yeah.
of times when I'm seeing text from people and stuff like that, they forget that like the brand may be less cutesy and perhaps more
Right.
matter of fact based, just to pick one brand out of random. But like everybody will have their own. Like IBM may have something that's a little bit different than Apple or
Hmm.
Microsoft or what have you in terms of their brand. I don't know, look and feel, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really like that workflow approach. I think this is really cool.
So and there's this professional version that I mean, I think it's hosted and you have to pay. Oh, it's not that crazy. $79. Oh, $79 a month, or indie $39 a month billed annually. But then there's also self-hosted, so you can self-host it, and then it's free.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's great.
Yeah, I think the main thing that you'd want
Community
is like
edition.
if this replaces clip art as a service, then what does that cost, basically, right? Again,
Right.
not to bring their pricing into consideration, but this feels like where a lot of people are coming up, like maybe similar to what I was talking about in slides. Like what I really want is just one icon for this slide
Yeah.
so I can shove some text around it, that kind of stuff. And
And
it
I
feels
think
like maybe I'm just talking to the wrong people, but a lot of people are telling me the same thing.
and I think a lot of that is something that's, I mean, if you're on a Mac platform, you're getting some of that with the new Apple Intelligence stuff around the image
Yeah,
playground.
can we talk about that a little bit? It's
So there's two things about Apple. There's that, and then there's something else.
Are you trying to talk about the M4? I think okay. The main thing I want to talk about is that AI term, and this is not something I came up
Yeah.
with. This is something my partner came up with. Did I tell you about this before?
No.
Where it's confusing now when they're talking about AI, what they mean
Yes.
by AI, is
Yeah.
it AITM or AI, and they're talking about the AI on PCs, but that can't
Yeah.
be the Apple Intelligence. It's very
Yeah.
confusing to me.
It's a
It
terrible
looks
name.
like Microsoft is about to do the same thing with
Terrible.
Windows
Yes.
Intelligence.
Yeah.
It's just like don't double down. Don't go further down into this
Yeah.
awful
Yeah.
branding mess. That's all. I just wanted to get that off my chest. It feels
Yeah.
like bad
It's
branding
like
to use the term and
I
then
find, I mean, there's so many bad. I feel like, yeah, that's a bad choice for. I mean, it's kind of cutesy. Oh, AI, it's Apple Intelligence. Somebody got some giggles out of it and thought, oh, wouldn't that be funny? Oh, no, 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 don't actually do it. Don't, no, no, no,
oh,
no. That was just a joke.
don't ship it to Prod. What have you done?
I mean, but then, I mean, I have so many branding problems, like with other products as well. Like
Right.
when they uh,
Copilot? Overused
yeah,
Copilot?
overuse a term. What is the right? It's like in object-oriented programming,
I
where
think
you
it's called.
use have the same method
Yep.
signature for multiple things.
The-
Anyway, I'm
I,
thinking of a term, but anyway,
to me, it feels like semantic diffusion. So they're using the same term all over the place
yeah,
to mean different
yeah,
things, which to
yeah.
me is
I
like the
hate
semantics
that.
are being more
And
blurry the more
I
you
mean,
use it.
like
Like,
chef is
yes,
like everything that chef made, or I mean, chef or salt stack, or I mean, so many of those companies where you have with chef you have a recipe and there's a cookbook. Like,
yes.
God, are you just trying to make it harder to find stuff? Like, come on.
It's pretty bad. Would agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you're looking for recipes, and then especially if there's something that's similar
yeah.
to like a food, I'm trying to think of something like maybe you mistype Mongo and you type mango, and then you're looking for a
Mm,
recipe.
mm-hmm.
You're not gonna find what you want. Even Mongo recipe would probably give you mango recipes. Let's
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah. But so, was there more to the Apple,
I
or
mean,
was
listen, I
that
could rant
your?
about this one forever, but if you're gonna talk about the M4 and the M4 Pro, I mean, we can certainly talk about that too.
Well, so there's that all that news from last week, but
Right.
then there's the other thing that was that
Oh,
2 days ago, I think Pixelmator
yeah.
got acquired by Apple.
Who?
Pixelmator,
Pixelmator, really?
yeah.
Wow. That
So that's
holy moly.
really interesting. I mean, Canva bought out. Uh, what was it? Is it Canva? I think Canva bought out the other
Affinity.
Affinity.
Holy shoot. I didn't know about either of these.
And when those are
This is 7
two,
months ago. I should have known. I really do like Canva.
yeah,
Yeah, and
two
Affinity too,
major
honestly.
tools that
Yeah.
are as
Wow.
good in most ways as good as Photoshop, and is a but now they've been acquired by two other companies who both I don't think Apple said what they're going to do,
Right.
but Canva's like, this is we're just giving them money so they can survive and they'll continue to be independent. Let them continue to do good things, but they would go out of business if they didn't get the money from us. Um, but with Pixelmator, I mean they it's it's in Apple's best interest to keep it alive, I think. Whereas the another previous acquisition of theirs was Dark Skies, when there was no real incentive to Apple to keep Dark Sky alive.
I don't think Dark Sky made money. As a
No,
fan, I'm just gonna throw that.
No, I mean
That API was phenomenal, but
it
didn't
was
seem to
great,
make anybody
but
money.
there was no, and there was not really an incentive to Apple to keep it going. I mean,
There was
they
so many free tools that used it
yeah,
that it could not make sense that they could
yeah,
charge
yeah,
enough for the APIs for the free tools to exist that they
yeah,
could make money as a company. To me, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was
yeah.
great. This is kind of amazing to me. I'm trying to think of the last time Apple had like a Paint app because they
Well,
used
I
to
mean,
have like
there's kind of the
a draw.
Aperture. Aperture was kind of like the Lightroom
Yeah, yeah. I
alternative,
mean
and you
that
could
that
also edit
the
photos with
the
that.
quote unquote Photos app is awful.
Yeah, well,
I will
yeah.
die on this
A
hill.
Photos app
It's
is nice
awful.
in that it is a nice library of photos, but
I
then
wouldn't even go that far.
also integration. I mean, good enough for most people. For I would think for most people, it's good
It
enough.
feels like
It's
an
certainly better
ever-growing
than
SQLite DB that just
it's
writes
certainly
with.
better than something like a Google Photos.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, fair enough. That's fair.
But but then it also has lots of integration points to a lot of tools that run on Mac. So
Absolutely.
Affinity Photo or Pixelmator or all these other tools can plug into that very easily into that
Yeah.
organization thing. So that is great. And with Lightroom, yeah, you can sort of integrate other tools into Lightroom, but you're like limited to 2 or 3 or whatever that menu supports for adding other tools.
I'm just sitting here thinking about like maybe it's because we just talked about Apple Intelligence, and then I'm still thinking about M4s, and
Yeah.
and then if I layer on this Draw app, is there any like way that I could shove text into this app and it could do stuff for me? And maybe the Notes app, I guess, is what I'm thinking of because
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that calculator looks pretty cool. Like the drawing that the calculator is doing for graphs and stuff like that in the new iOS app. Sorry,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
new
yeah, yeah,
Apple Intelligence
yeah.
enabled calculator app that I still have not seen. I
Right.
don't know if it's out yet. I think it's pretty soon. But
Yeah, I
that
don't
to
know.
me looks it's sort of sci-fi. So
Yeah,
I'd be very interested in to see how those graphics are created, or
right.
if purchasing other graphics apps will help them create better apps. Because a lot of people have a really hard time graphing numbers that they've got in a chart. I know this seems like a very simple problem, but the other is I'm looking at Claude over here, and its main example is driving a spreadsheet, which
Hmm.
seems like a UI issue. If you can't use the spreadsheet, then it's not that you need like a model to run it for you, it's that you need
Right.
something else going on. But this tells me that we've got a problem. If we're solving the boring things, I guess, to put it in
Yeah.
the Y Combinator kind of terms,
Right.
then maybe we're actually solving a problem that's handy for people.
Hmm.
I'm excited. This might be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And
Yeah, Nick says tautology. I think a tautology is like a truism, so it is what it is. I think is a tautology. So similar to what Matt was saying, but maybe not the same. I think.
I was what you mean where I was talking
Oh
about the
no, no,
method?
no. Nick is absolutely right. Sorry, I've got the wrong
What?
definition for tautology. Yeah,
What is
it's saying the
tautology?
same things twice in different words, generally considered
Oh,
tautologous.
I was talking about
Okay,
overloading. That
overloading.
was the
Gotcha.
term I was thinking of.
Well, Nick,
But
you've just taught me a
but
word that I
that's a
thought I
new,
knew. So
yeah.
thank you.
That's yeah. I would
I
not
thought
have
it was a
guessed that's
truism.
what it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. It is in logic. A tautology is a truism in logic, but in English, it's when you're saying the same thing using different words. Very cool.
Mm.
Okay, I learned a new definition for a word already. The more
Yeah,
you know.
M4 Max looks interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to what the M4 Ultra turns out to be.
Thank you. Yeah, because that's what I'm on the fence because I've got the studio already, right? So
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
sitting here. I thought I had an M3 in it, but obviously
Because
I've got an M2.
what
It's
better
got to be way better.
use for an M4 for a studio Mac than as a place to keep the space warm for the new M4 Studio, right? Is that
Yes, exactly.
yes?
Put one on one foot, and then when you get the,
Perfect.
you gotta keep your feet warm in the winter
Yes.
in the Pacific Northwest somehow.
Yes.
I also really thought the Mac Mini was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just me who wants to get four of them and sort of plug them together, but they're so small
So
that
small.
it feels like there's a lot you could do. Like
Yeah.
imagine, I shouldn't say this is so sad, but like imagine a Kubernetes cluster of four little Mac Minis. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
exciting to me.
Yeah.
It's very small. You could do a lot of stuff with it.
And there's
I don't.
already like shelves that you can buy for monitors to mount your old Mac Mini onto the back of the monitor. but now it's even smaller. And I've seen ones that are like basically VESA mounts that just mount onto the back of monitors. Um,
Uh,
yeah,
all good. one one big problem. The power button is on the bottom of it
I
for
see
some
no problem
reason.
with this.
It's
I don't know
behind your
why people
monitor.
are
It's
upset about
behind your
this.
monitor, so you put the top towards the back of your monitor, so you can touch the bottom of your Mac, so you can turn it on. I mean, I guess that would work. I'm
I don't
just
know
saying.
why people are bothered by this power button. It is like the
Because you
least
gotta.
used, it's the least used thing on the Mac.
I guess they're saying you never turn it off if
I
you
mean,
just
I
keep it
I
on.
turn off this Mac Mini, which is a M1, and I turn up, and there's back over there is a 2011 Mac Mini. I turn
I,
them off once every. Well, this one, the newer one, I turn off every 6 to 8 weeks, and that one I turn off every 2 years.
Now, where's the power button on your current Mac Mini? Pop quiz.
I don't know. I mean, I have to fumble around
Yeah, I
looking
think it's on
for
the
it.
back. Like
It's
the
on the
power's
back.
on the
It's like on the
left, and it's on
corner
the
or
back
something.
right. Yeah, it's right on the corner. It actually already is in an inconvenient spot, which is some of what I was
It
thinking of when they were
it
talking
is
about it.
a
It's like
spot
you
that
weren't mad before.
the reason why I've used it in the last 6 weeks is
Yeah,
because I've accidentally
you pushed it.
bumped it.
Oh,
But
I
where
mean,
you're kind of like
that's a pretty good
it
point.
needs to be held, but it's
Yes,
easy enough to bump it against.
you can
There's
push it
another
against the
cable
power
that's
adapter. Yeah,
sitting there, and it
yeah.
just pushes in, and so I feel like moving it is great. Putting it on the bottom, great. It gets neat. I need to touch it once every 6 weeks. Who cares?
I think a large quotient of maybe the sort of tech internet reacted in the same way that they saw that the new mouse plugs in on the bottom as well, even though it's USB-C. I guess now that you said this, so like my MacBook is closed and it has been
Yeah.
closed for a while, and generally it's closed. And the way I turn it off is either with a keyboard, which I almost pressed during the stream, and I'm glad I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
or just going to the Apple menu kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
think the lock key, if you press and hold it for a bit, will like put into like the login screen, which will then put it to
Right.
sleep or something like that, is what I normally do. Or I just go into the Mac menu. But you're
Mm.
right. I rarely push that power button.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
Yeah.
The
And
other
with the
thing,
mouse, I mean,
yep.
I don't care about that. I mean, I can't understand. I don't understand why people like mice.
Yeah, straight up here to agree with you, and maybe it's because Apple has made such terrible mice throughout the
Yeah.
years that have just
But
become
I mean, I guess before I was Mac based and I was still
right.
Windows based, I guess I was on a
Your
ThinkPad or a
trackball.
Compaq
Okay,
and the trackpads were always terrible, but the ThinkPad, the
they
little
had the little nubbin
eraser
thing.
thing, like the one
Yeah,
company that's able to do it.
right.
I don't know how it is since Lenovo got acquired by that Chinese
I've
company. I
got one
mean,
in the studio. It's honestly not bad. It's not
okay,
great, and the biggest problem though is that most people have no idea how to use that little thing. They have
yeah,
no idea that you
yeah,
like have to press and hold and drag. Like
yeah,
this is alien
yeah.
to
It,
like any generation other than ours, and even then it was a niche
yeah.
niche interface device kind of thing.
I mean, it took me a long time to get used to get as precise with the trackpad as with that eraser thing.
Right, right. The other thing you texted me about was this password manager.
Oh
I
yeah,
can't even talk manager member.
yeah. So
I'm already using it, and I
okay.
think my family's already using it.
Hmm.
But I wonder if this is like a different thing because
So
we've been using it for a few months. Is this something different than the one that was in like the last iOS update?
well, I think now it has more of the UI
Oh, okay. Because we
around
could
it.
share passwords before, which was like an
Yeah,
Apple Password Manager thing, and
and
before it would just
I'm
be in
actually
Safari, right?
surprised you're using it.
I think the issue is around ergonomics for stuff like LastPass
Hmm.
and 1Password. And I listen, I know open source security is pretty important, but
Hmm.
I use both of those, and I really don't like either of them, and I'd love
Mm.
to get off either of them. The other alternative is the Chrome Password Manager, which is awful. And I
Yeah,
think historically, just because Safari is built into the operating system of iOS and it's synced,
right.
historically that's what we've used. And I guess migrating to whatever this new tool is, because I've not actually opened up the UI,
Well,
it
now
seems
you
like
can
an
add it to the
easy.
menu bar,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Because like a
and
lot of times
with
I
a
want to look
keyboard
it up, and that's a
shortcut.
pain.
Oh,
Okay,
like with 1Password, there was a keyboard shortcut. Type in
right,
what you're looking for, and then it opens,
right.
and you can do all that using passwords on the Mac.
Nice.
What I was
Now,
surprised, I
yep.
didn't think you would be on it because I thought you had enough Linux boxes. and
Gotcha.
there, I mean, it's a Mac thing, right?
Gotcha.
It doesn't
Uh,
support other things, does
dirty
it?
secret about the Linux boxes is I rarely sit in front of them and use them.
Okay,
So I'm mostly remote, so I typically be
yeah,
using them from a Mac. So I guess looking up a password isn't hard.
right. And
And
then
the
you probably
real
have
dirty
SSH
secret,
keys,
yeah, the real dirty secret is that I'm using it, like I use LastPass or whatever in
right?
my browser as a plugin. But when it comes to like family stuff, like no, it's
Yeah,
mostly Mac only.
yeah.
Like that's kind of all we use, honestly. Um, yeah, I don't think there's a
Well, I
Windows
mean,
box in the house that either of us would both use.
the question I think I asked in the message was,
Mhm.
um, do you buy or do you buy into? I mean, okay, this is passwords is free on the Mac, but do you buy into a new technology because of your current requirements? Like
Mhm.
me, I am all Mac in this house. There is no all the machines, all the computers, with the exception of a couple like little things like these little things,
Right.
are essentially all Macs. Do I but I use one password, and I have used one password for 10 years.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and one of the nice things about that is support for other platforms, even though I don't actually use those other platforms. I'm only on Mac.
Oh, okay, I do
Um,
definitely. But I
and
think the other thing is like, do you trust 1Password or LastPass with your passwords? Now, I'll answer for you.
mhm,
I'm still with LastPass, and I think they got breached twice, and I've been
yes,
with them for a long time.
yeah,
My passwords are pretty important,
yeah,
obviously, but I'm still with them, so I don't know what to say.
yeah,
I feel like Apple's doing a better job, but I don't know if
yeah.
that's the reason why I'd switch. Does that factor in at all for you?
Um,
Like they're talking about the secure
oh,
enclave, right? Where
yeah.
they've let security researchers in. I'm assuming this is where the passwords are kept
Well,
somewhere in
with
the Apple
Secure
Cloud.
Enclave, once you add something into Secure Enclave, you can't get it out. Like, I mean, you could compare the hashes,
Right,
but you're not going to get access to the original
right,
content, which is a problem. I mean, because with like one password, you want to get that original value out to be able to
right,
hand it off to another site.
right.
And so Secure Enclave is useful for those on-device keys that maybe lock the 1Password
I
database.
think we're looking at things
But
completely different angle. Like I'm thinking on the outside. So for me to give a password to my partner,
mhm.
would I write it down in a sticky note? Would I tell
Mm,
them out loud? Or I guess what I'm getting to is I like the feature of being able to like iCloud send
yeah,
a password.
yeah,
I guess they can
it's
somehow
kind of
recover
magical.
it, but it seems like a way that like they don't see the password, but they get it sort of like the
Right.
Wi-Fi password sharing that we have now.
Yeah.
Have you done that before? Where
Oh
like
yeah.
I have a
And
password to a few Wi-Fi
the
things and I don't know
QR
what they
code
are.
that it generates,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
yeah, right. That this is
Yeah,
the benefit that I'm
yeah,
seeing, and I get your point too. But I think for the people who can't use passwords or
sure.
for the life of them have a really hard time with passwords, and I
Right.
say this with much affection, I feel like this is going to be handy for this
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah.
Like I'm thinking about mom. Let's be honest.
Oh
Hopefully she's
yeah.
not
I mean,
watching today.
I, I mean, every Friday, my mother comes over here for dinner, and every Tuesday we go to her place and have
Right?
dinner. I think at least every Tuesday, I find out that 1Password, she can't enter she can't get her passwords. Like, okay, let's go over this again.
And it quizzes you pretty regularly. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
if it's one
Okay,
password. Yeah.
let's do this one more time. I mean,
I'm wheezing.
it's I I'm not sure whether the better idea. I mean, the previous solution was a 3-ring biter, had all the passwords written down.
I kind of have some respect for
It's
that, though.
kind of that's
Honestly,
pretty useful
it is.
as as long as you don't carry that around with you.
Right.
As long as it stays at home, it's like in your
In a vault,
lockbox or
maybe. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
exactly.
Unlike the key, like the house keys that I gave my parents, and the house keys had my dad wanted to make sure he didn't forget what this house key was for,
Wrote
and so
down
he
the
wrote the
address.
full address. 50 Canal Straat, Amsterdam, etc. Um, don't put address on the key that opens the door to that house.
I do like this the secure enclave thing because I also guess maybe in the back of my mind I'm thinking about it's not like quantum but whatever the
Hmm.
new RSA
Yeah.
next thing is, which I'm not going to be able to remember. Let's be
Right.
frank. Whatever
Right.
passwords become, be it past phrases or
Yeah.
past paragraphs or whatever they are, it is going to be different. Some sort
Right.
of different thing. And I feel like having some area I can put stuff in and again trust a benevolent dictator out of
Right.
Apple to keep my stuff free of a harm is good. But maybe also some of me wants to think that I could do it on my own. The reality of this though is like having tried to run my own password manager or
Right.
authentication
Yeah.
method or anything like that is awful.
Yeah.
It's fraught with such
I
peril
mean,
and also just frustration.
yeah, doing it yourself, I think, is a whole lot worse than LastPass. But I feel I would trust one password a whole lot more than I would trust LastPass. But
I
that's
think
just
everybody would agree with you. Yeah,
yeah.
everybody would agree with you.
Well,
Even I'd agree with you.
I think there's a lot of people who say, well, isn't LastPass one open source and therefore all things are all
No, I don't think
no, it's
LastPass is
not.
open source.
Oh,
No,
okay.
KeePass would be the one that I ran prior
KeyPass,
to
yes.
both of these, honestly, and I still do have a backup in KeePass.
Yeah.
But okay, it's gonna get morbid for a quick second,
Yeah.
but like if ever I were to pass away, the 3-ring binder actually seems
Yeah.
like the most handy thing
Yeah.
for anybody to use. But the next to me kind of feels like that digital enclave. Like if I can prove to the benevolent dictator that
Mm-hmm.
sorry, someone else in my family's passed away and I need to take over their passwords, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, or like there's a last will and testament says like, hey,
Right.
this is that person, they should be able to get into the Google Photos and download that album last time or something like that. It feels like for me, Apple runs most of my kind of
Yeah.
digital estate, so it makes sense. But I do wonder about the Ubuntu people or
Mm-hmm.
the Windows people or what that looks like. Is it OneDrive? Is it OneDrive password manager, Copilot for passwords? There's got to be a Copilot in here somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can generate passwords for you,
Yeah.
but they're secure
Sure.
because
Yeah.
that's what it does. Generate.
New every time.
Sorry, I could talk about passwords for a while,
Yeah.
but I do feel like this is a good thing for the Apple crowd. I agree with you though that having more operating systems involved would be good. Like Apple Music does run on Android, as far as I
Yeah.
know. It'd be cool to see this be another one of those
Right.
pieces of software that could run
Right.
on Android or at least Windows. Oh wow, somebody said they got their mom on Authy2FA. So, Mikola, I will sign up for your newsletter. I'll pay you monthly. Yeah, if you can get us all on Authy2FA for our parents, I think that'd be amazing. Wow,
What
that's
is Authy?
Authy. Authy2FA is like what would be the equivalent? Duo, I think, would be similar to Authy. Authy is purchased by
Oh, Twilio.
Twilio, and what it does is
Okay.
manage two-factor authentication, so it can generate like the QR code kind of stuff that Google
Right.
would do.
Right.
The cool thing is that you can save that seed and reuse it, which I guess you could do with Google Authenticator, but they don't really encourage it.
Right.
And Authy allows you to log on to multiple devices, which is a real key for me, including Linux or mobile, and then get my 2FA codes wherever I am. This is like massive lifesaver for me. So
Right.
Authy, again, maybe not a company that I trusted. Twilio, I feel like I could put my trust in. I don't know, but it
And
does
then
feel like these.
there's another A company that acquired their closest
Yeah,
competitor. Um,
there's
God,
one password, one login.
oh no, but kind of more on the 2FA slash
I think
um
that's one password, right? They've got their own. What other
yeah, well,
2FA is
yeah,
there?
two you're right. One Password does 2FA, but
Yeah,
but God, what's
Google Auth. I know Duo because Cisco bought them, and then they run out of the office here. There's Microsoft Authenticator. Probably know what you're thinking about. Aegis? Never
Auth0,
heard of that. Oh, Auth0. Shoot.
which got acquired by Okta, which is another
Yes,
big one.
yes, yes. Okta again. I think has
And
more
then
secrets.
another
Yeah,
one that
very cool.
I just started playing around with, but not really doing much with, is Authelia.
Oh, I haven't heard of that at all.
Um, Open source
Oh,
authentication authorization server.
oh. Hey, there we
Um,
go. The,
2FA,
you know what I mean? This
and
is what I
yeah,
want to see. If there's a big corporate solution, there's got to be somebody else who thinks that this is a
yeah,
problem in the open source space, and this is awesome.
yeah.
Go into React. Excellent.
And so this is nice in that because you know, one of the solutions, one of the reasons I've heard people using this was because, they set up a server somewhere with a bunch of different, like on a DigitalOcean droplet or somewhere else, with a bunch of these different services that have different authentication mechanisms to get in. Probably not all that great for all of them, and somehow putting Authelia in front. I'm not sure if Authelia is working with traffic or how that's working, but
Right.
giving you single sign-on even for your self-hosted applications.
It does
And
work with Duo, which I can't recommend Duo more. I don't know if you've ever used like BattleNet, but I think that's the only other thing that's similar to Duo.
you mean that app
S-
that
yeah,
it's
Steam does it
yeah,
now too. Not the Google app, but the Authenticator app. I think
yeah,
Google launched Duo at the same time that Duo got popular, which is maybe a problem for them. But
right.
it would just send you a request, and you tap the request to approve, which is
Mm,
awesome. You didn't have to copy things back and forth. It would just
right,
send something like a deep link to your phone. You click
right.
approve, and it would just let stuff through. It was fantastic. Oh yeah,
Mm,
on ledgers, yep, for sure. Apple's. Sorry, I'm just reading through
yeah.
these things here. No, pretty cool. Um, so listen, I've got some stuff to recommend, but
Oh yeah.
I did want to say I finally finished the last episode of Bad Monkey, and it was really good. Yeah,
Okay.
begrudgingly, I did like it, and
Uh-huh.
I think what it may have done for me is like made me a bit more of a fan of Vince Vaughn than I thought I was.
Of what?
Just Vince Vaughn,
Oh,
just
okay.
sticking through it, like that really
Yeah.
dry,
Yeah.
deadpan sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like actually really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else in the comments talking about KeyPass XC. Can't
Mm.
recommend that enough. It's actually really good. So listen, I talked about compression socks once, and I know this is scintillating, but for those of you who have cold hands in the winter when coding,
Oh
I'm holding these
God.
up for the listeners. I'm so sorry. These are compression gloves, I guess. They are
Huh.
surprisingly amazing for cold fingers. I always find when I'm
Wait,
like
but
typing
those
quite a
look
bit.
like they're open.
Yeah, yeah,
Wouldn't the
right. You would
fingers be
think.
cold?
Yeah, you would think they now again to describe it for those of you listening, they look like driving gloves or weightlifting gloves, and that the fingertips are cut out. And you would think, yes, that the fingertips would be cold as a result, but because they compress your hands, it improves the circulation in your hands, and your fingers are warm as a result. So it's not like warming up your hands; it's more like constricting the blood flow in your hands. And yeah, it's surprising. I thought, like, these are like $2 Amazon, like really kind of ugly, honestly, gloves
Well,
work so well.
so
So
they're
well.
generic enough that Amazon has a version
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I get pretty small hands. I think I got smalls or maybe small
Uh-huh.
mediums. They're perfectly fine. They just like rope in your hands a little bit, and I guess your
Wow.
veins work better as a result. But my fingers aren't cold when I'm like using Photoshop or writing code or whatever,
Yeah.
which honestly, it sounds like a small problem. But after a couple hours of typing on cold fingers, because you can't feel your fingertips,
Right.
they do hurt. You're pushing too hard, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And yeah, I'm amazed. I laughed so hard when my partner ordered them. They
Uh-huh.
work so well. I still laughing about the socks because it looks ridiculous on a plane to
Yeah.
have socks
Yeah.
like halfway up your legs. But
Yeah.
whatever, here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I've got more accessories to make me look even more amazing when I fly.
Well,
These
that is. Can you put one on?
oh, for sure. They're a little bit hard to take off, but yeah,
Yeah,
getting
I
them
can
on
imagine.
is fairly easy. They're fairly constrictive,
Yeah.
is what the problem is. Isn't like they really like hug your fingers, and you've
Yeah.
actually got to I don't know stick them on quite yeah. But they look like this.
Okay.
I guess my
Wow.
pinky's a bit small, but yep. But
Okay.
they're very snug. I guess is what
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
say, and the snugness seems to make the fingertips not cold, which is
Do you
fantastic.
are you able to wear them for a long time? Or
I've
do you
only
feel
worn them
like
for
I
about an
gotta
hour and a
take them
half.
off?
Yeah, they get pretty warm. Is
Okay.
the issue? Is that like once your
Oh.
circulation starts working, then your hands get warm, and then you're wearing gloves on your hands. So perhaps having a break from computing is not a bad thing for me either.
Right. Right.
Which is what I ended up doing, is just grabbing a drink, getting up, and going back, kind of thing.
Would
The other
you
thing, yep, go
would
ahead.
you use them like if you're just going out and want to keep your hands warm, like on a walk?
Ooh,
Do you
ooh.
think you'll be using those?
I don't know. They have the fingerless gloves have a certain kind of like it's a choice.
I mean, you'll always be able to use your phone.
Yeah, what I use now is running gloves, and
Yeah.
they are actually pretty tight. So I use
Yeah.
like Nike running gloves. I might have another one from like
Yeah.
Reebok or something like that, and they generally will have at least one finger that's got a
Right.
like a
The
capacitive kind
capacitive.
of
Yeah.
yeah. It's like some sort of the fabric that they use may have a little bit of metal in it or something
Yeah.
like that. It seems to work pretty well.
Yep.
But that's what I use right now. They're reflective as well, which is handy. I
Mm,
don't know, maybe somebody's gonna run over my hands when
hmm.
I'm out walking, but like not a lot of the rest of my clothing is reflective, so
Right,
perhaps
right.
having more reflective would be better. But yeah,
Yeah, there's some
maybe I
super
will try them. Sorry.
reflective jackets and gloves that are like
Yeah,
look like they're like
yeah.
shining lights out. And
I'm here for it.
yeah, it's walking or driving around here. It can get when the
It's
moon is
dangerous.
not out. You know,
Yeah.
it's a no moon. Was it?
Yes.
And whatever, not a full moon. The opposite.
Yeah.
It is really hard to see people, even if they have a flashlight and they're like flicking that flashlight in front of them. They're still really hard to see. Um, so, and
Is it?
I've gotten almost hit by a driver who, I was wearing reflective, like the more traditional kind of X reflective,
Yep.
vest, and a headlamp and a flashlight, and
And
they
still
couldn't
almost
see
yeah.
me.
That's amazing to me.
I had to dive into the bushes, literally, and
Now,
yank the dog with me.
no, I'm not a Twilight fan, so I
Okay,
had to look this up. But is new moon the thing you're looking for the
is
no
that
moon? That yeah, it's the opposite of a full moon. I think is a new moon.
okay? I
Does that
would
track?
think that would be like the first sliver, wouldn't it?
That's what I thought too.
Because
I think
it's
we're
all
both
used
learning
up.
something
It's
today.
not new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how is it new if it's not there? I guess
So new.
we
It's
know. Yeah,
brand
we
spanking
know.
new.
Yeah, it's just fresh. It's so fresh.
Yeah.
There's not even a sliver yet.
This is why people
Um,
come to this podcast to learn about science.
yeah. So tautology and new moon are things that we're
Yes.
doing our work here today.
Yes. Yes.
And hopefully somebody's gonna keep asking now. Is there anything that you've watched or anything that you want to share with us?
Mm,
Anything new?
so I because of that show we were watching that I mentioned before, Lioness,
Yep.
which to see the second season you have to get Paramount Plus, and
Hmm.
so we subscribed to Paramount
Of
Plus.
course. Yep.
And then but because I've had Paramount Plus in the past, I've had it for 1 or 2 months and then got
Yep.
rid of it. It said, "Oh, welcome back.
Hmm.
Here is a free offer. You get, the elements or whatever offering
Oh, they have
for a
cable
month
tiers now in Paramount Plus.
free, and
Okay.
then you can resubscribe." And I was like, "Great, a month free. That's great. It's
Yeah.
so you don't have to pay $7.99 for the month. Okay, fine. But then in order to use that, you have to watch ads.
Oh.
It's one of these tier. I was like, if I'm paying for a streaming
Yeah.
service, I don't want. I mean, so
Same.
I ended up paying the $12.99 for the month because that's the version that doesn't have ads. But
Now it sounds like there's different tiers though. So that's like the no ad low tier, but there's other tiers that have more
there's
content.
there's a so there's $7.99 for ads, and it looks like it. When I tried playing Lioness, it had to play 3 full ads, so like a minute and a
Whoa,
half of ads
that's straight up
before the
TV.
episode. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That you're paying $7.99 a month for.
Yeah, I mean, at
And
least
then
for TV, you're
there's
paying for the cable and like a box and
and then
service
there's
people.
11. Then there's the $11.99 one, which has
Right?
Paramount Plus without ads. Except apparently there are some ads on some shows. We don't. I don't know what.
Okay.
But then you pay $1 more, and you get that and Showtime.
Okay.
I didn't realize they were related, but okay, fine.
Okay.
So I got that.
Huh. Now,
And I
have
think
you ever watched?
I
Yeah,
think there's actually a whole lot more levels possible.
that's what I was getting at. Have you watched Portlandia before? Because it sounds like
No.
one of those episodes. This is
Oh
like
yeah,
the everything plus plan, but then you need like the everything ultimate to actually get everything.
right.
But no, if you want everything, then you have to get the everything ultimate. like this
Well,
whole
yeah, and Amazon Prime did this pretty recently, where
yes,
if you
exactly.
stay on the original plan, then you're
There
starting
are
to get
ads on things
ads. It's like I don't
somehow.
want the
What?
ads.
Yeah.
It's $4
And they're like,
extra a month.
oh, but like
Fine.
the
Don't show
Prime
me
Basic
ads.
stuff still has ads. And I'm like, I'm paying you to not have ads. They're
Right.
like, yeah, but that has ads. I'm like, yeah, we're misunderstanding each other.
Yeah.
Don't want
Yeah.
ads.
Yeah.
So odd.
So anyway, we
I
got Paramount Plus, and because there
yeah.
is right now we're
You said
on
Lioness.
Lioness, but then there's also the There's like 3 Star Trek series, and I think we're like a season behind on the one where she was doing all this weird time traveling stuff, and they're kind of in further future. There's the Picard, which we're I think a season behind on, and there's another one. There's the Strange New Worlds, something like that, and I think we're 1 or 2 seasons back on that. And
So you're
there's
not
some of
watching
the
Tulsa
huh?
King?
What's
Tulsa
that?
King was the one I laid my guilty pleasure was
Uh,
Tulsa King.
was it any good?
No.
Oh, okay. Because it's got
I
some. Who's in it?
Sylvester Stallone, and I
Oh
think that's
God,
why I
come
started
on.
watching it is because I like he can't give us any dialogue that's worth. It's surprisingly compelling. It's all right. Listen,
Wow.
it's better than you expect, but it's really not that good. How's that?
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it, it will it'll impress you, but also not
yeah.
that great. There's a lot on here though. There's like the
There
new
is a lot.
Fraser is on here, I think as well.
What's that?
The new Fraser, as
Oh,
well
okay.
as that my partner's watching all of the
Hmm.
South Park again, which is on Paramount Plus. At least in
I,
Canada, I think it's a little bit different here.
I had seen like the precursor or prequel or whatever to Yellowstone. I've never seen any of the
Oh,
Yellowstone
yeah,
things,
yeah,
but I saw that like
19 something.
first one, the one like 1800s where they're crossing the country, and that was
1883 and 1923. Those are
so
both
I don't know. But
really good.
1923's got like Helen Mirren in it, and
Yeah,
when
and it's
it's
got the guy. Sorry, I should know his
decent
name.
cast.
Pardon? Yeah, it's got a decent cast
Yeah,
for sure. And the
yeah.
story is like remarkably good, and the
Is it?
cinematography is
Oh,
phenomenal.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And I thought,
see,
Western Story, who's gonna
yeah,
watch this? But like both of those shows are really. I still haven't seen
yeah,
Yellowstone, but I've seen 1883 and 1923,
right,
which I really really liked.
yeah.
Yes, can't recommend them more.
Yeah.
It was
So
phenomenal.
I'm looking forward to watching those and Lioness, which is the reason we got it. So I would imagine we'll have it for probably not just a month, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then get rid of it.
Who's Indiana Jones? Sorry, I should know this. I'm
Harrison
so
Ford?
oh so sorry to say this publicly, but like yes, Harrison Ford in 1923 is really good.
Oh, that's who is in that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so bad. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really not great at actor stuff, so I'll get better. But yeah,
Well,
that's a solid
I mean, the
recommendation.
classic example of that was when we both said, who is it, Donald Glover and somebody
Danny
else?
Glover.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I
Yeah,
have any other. Oh, actually,
yeah,
there was something. Wasn't there? Uh,
dude.
no, maybe not.
Oh, all right. All right, sir. Well, that
All
was
right.
amazing.
It was
Yet
fun.
another great episode.
Amazing stuff.
Thank you for all the comments, folks. That
Thank
was
you, everyone.
fantastic. Any questions?
Yep, for all that. All
All right,
right,
sir.
tautology. Use it 5 times this week.
It is what it is.
All right. Oh, I gotta find the button to stop.
I think it's
End.
on you. Yeah. Get it?
End.
Oh, he's got
End.
it. Best. What did
Okay.
you possibly try to automate it?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a button on my Stream Deck. Okay, finish.